Welcome to the second episode in a three-part Legendarium series about the history of Thanksgiving. In Part 2, A National Crusade, we will talk about how civil war and one woman's efforts made Thanksgiving a national holiday. While autumn festivals remained a common occurrence throughout Europe and its various American colonies, Thanksgiving became a particular New England tradition which celebrated that first meal between the Wampanoag and the Puritans. However, New England's rocky soil and harsh weather meant generations of New Englanders left their homeland and headed west. First, they migrated through modern-day upstate New York, the Great Lakes region, and finally the Great Plains. Wherever they went, they brought the custom of an autumn Thanksgiving with them. In part because of this, during the American Revolution, the Continental Congress designated one or more days of Thanksgiving each year. Early in his presidency, George Washington issued the first Thanksgiving proclamation by the government of the United States. He called upon Americans to express their gratitude for the happy conclusion to the United States War of Independence and the ratification of the United States Constitution. His successors, John Adams and James Madison, also designated days of thanks during their presidencies. Yet these remained one-off events to celebrate some good fortune rather than a permanent national celebration. Indeed, President Thomas Jefferson refused to recognize the event because he believed firmly in the separation of church and state and would not make a day of religious observance a state holiday. Nonetheless, in 1817, New York became the first of several states to officially adopt an annual Thanksgiving holiday. By the 1840s, Thanksgiving had traveled with New Englanders through much of the Northeast and the Midwest. It even established a menu that we are familiar with today, including roasted turkey, mashed potatoes, green beans, and, of course, pumpkin pie. Yet the American South remained unfamiliar with the tradition, and Thanksgiving would have likely never become a federal holiday if not for the efforts of one woman, Sarah Josepha Hale, a woman who was widowed in her mid-30s with 5 children, and to support them, she took to writing. Today she is most famous for writing the nursery rhyme Mary Had a Little Lamb, yet she also waged a long and hard-fought battle to make Thanksgiving a national holiday. Hale believed that Thanksgiving had a deep moral influence that taught families the value of coming together, or as she called it, ingathering. A committed abolitionist, she also believed that imparting family values would turn voters against slave power. Her first novel, Northwood, compared and contrasted life in the North and the South, with the North looking much better. One of the reasons the North looked better is because Hale included a chapter-long description of Thanksgiving and its many wonderful blessings, worked in to push her favorite holiday on the reading public. After the publication of Northwood, she founded American Ladies Magazine, also called Goody Lady's Book, and filled it with articles on cooking, women's issues, how to bring up children well, and why everybody should celebrate Thanksgiving. During her spare time, she wrote letters to governors and senators, begging them to make Thanksgiving a national holiday. By 1854, 29 states in the Northeast and Midwest observed Thanksgiving, mainly because of Hale's efforts. However, her efforts fell on deaf ears in the Southeast. Indeed, the governor of Virginia, Joseph Johnson, in 1853, publicly refused Hale's request to make Thanksgiving a holiday in his home state of Virginia because he associated it with Northern preachers who spoke against slavery. Other governors across the American South followed his lead. The governors who refused cited Thomas Jefferson's doctrine separating church and state. In 1860, Sarah Hale began writing President Abraham Lincoln, arguing that the United States needed to put aside sectional feelings and rally around a common cause. And since Hale proved a little one-note, she reasoned that a national celebration of Thanksgiving would do just that. Though she wrote several presidents before, Lincoln became the first to actually listen to her. A mere 5 days after Hale wrote her letter, Lincoln issued a declaration inviting people in every part of the United States to come together and give thanks for the good in the country and their lives. Of course, President Lincoln had his own reasons for taking Hale's advice. He hoped to improve the morale of Union troops by giving them a new holiday and to rebuild a sense of national identity. In the years to come, celebrants filled the holiday with pictures of pilgrims coming together to create an ideal of a united America. Yet while Northerners carved up turkeys and enjoyed the feast, people in the war-torn South sat down for starvation parties. At these events, impoverished people did everything they enjoyed in peacetime except for the one thing they couldn't afford: decent food. It is worth noting that President Lincoln already considered a national holiday in the sky of Thanksgiving, which would have given the holiday a radically different character. In 1861, long before he read Hale's letter, he tried making his own festival to bring the country back together. However, he wanted it to be, in President Lincoln's own words, a day of public humiliation, prayer, and fasting. Lincoln's holiday would have begun with people acknowledging the supreme government of God and bowing in humble submission to his punishments, including, in Lincoln's view, the United States Civil War. They would then publicly confess their sins and transgressions before begging for forgiveness from their fellow men. President Lincoln hoped that if Americans repented of their sins, then God would show mercy and end the Civil War. His proposed day of self-hatred, starvation, and prayer did not catch on the same way that Sarah Hale's beloved Thanksgiving did. That wraps things up for this episode of The Legendarium. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, press like. If you want to see more, press subscribe. And if you've got anything to say, let me know in the comments section. Thanks again for joining me, and I hope that you have a great rest of the day.